All right, good evening. We're gonna try to keep this pretty short. It's been a busy week to say the least, and I gotta hop in a brief meeting after this. So I did want to make sure we covered this because since the conclusion of the second annual AI Pioneer Program with the Boys and Girls Clubs, we have taken a little bit of a hiatus, at least from live streaming or public updates outside of my correspondence with TRT World and RT. So we want to kind of talk about the updates from this week. ZEN Weekly is obviously our publication that does discuss the newest tools, trends, and updates in the world of AI, quantum, fusion, photonics, pretty much everything, blockchain, all of the newer emerging sectors that are kind of taking center stage here. So I figured, we quick give an update as to what Zen's working on, an update of what's happened this past week. Sometimes you keep, besides the Matt Wolfs out there, a lot of probably catch a few news updates here and there. So we're going to dive into this week before we get into what Zen's working on next and our team. But 11 Labs, for those of you who missed it, 11 Labs shipped new dev features, which includes an MCP server. It adds a loop parameter for sound effects. The API adds a remix for your voice and the get transcript by ID endpoints. And this is useful for fast voice variants and deterministic dubbing for those of you who are in there making tracks or making a large narrative piece with 11 Labs or generative voice. It's good to really crank out multiple versions or variations, testers. There's so many tools I feel like that I use in a number of our platforms that aren't even production ready tools. So it's just to, testers, for lack of a better word, to give you an idea of what you're looking at, or what this prompt or this direction where that may lead. If you see me looking down, my phones are going crazy right now. And that's because one of the updates that we're going to be announcing towards the end of the stream about Zen, which I'm really excited for. I'm pumped. If I don't look like it, it's because I'm absolutely exhausted, but that's all right. We continue, and we have a great team. So Zen Action in our arena, we're going to be setting something up in the Zen arena. This plays hand in hand with the 11 Labs MCP because it gives us a lot more flexibility. And we're going to be offering something called Clip Cleanup, where you can. It's almost like if you've used Canva, where you can use highlights and you can put like a 20, 30, 40, 60-minute video in there, and it's going to auto trim highlights, the best parts for you. That's kind of what the Zen Arena Clip Cleanup that utilizes 11 Labs MCP server is going to do. It's going to allow you to upload clips up to 60 minutes in length, and it will auto clean and auto trim it for you. We've used it a few times and tested some things that weren't as, instead of like a dog barking in the background or a fire, or a police siren, that's very obvious for a model to clip and remove from, say a podcast or an interview. We did, things like someone sneezing, coughing. Someone just happened to sneeze when we were testing it, but sneezing, coughing, connection or just microphone puffs, it's able to eliminate much subtle discrepancies and things you would not want, and even clipping yourself you may miss, because sometimes it's not often when I'm recording that there's a siren going off or anything like that. It's usually the in between. Sometimes I'll even have a stream that I am following or a live feed going on, on a display behind me, and you can hear little like noises and stuff like that when we play our videos back. So that's the cool part. It's going to get rid of things like that. We estimate we'll be launching that sometime near November of this year, but we'll keep you updated. And of course, for all of our Zen members, we will post an update for that. Since one thing that I talked to my team, and because of our position, we were a little bit split on this, but we're going to start making announcements with Zen members and show just how many we have. We're currently sitting at about 19,120, maybe 130, somewhere around there, which is massive. That's been mainly because of the AI Pioneer program and our focus on AI literacy these past 2 years. And we are extremely grateful for our subscribers and our ZEN members, our pioneers, because it allows us to do a lot more, obviously, for a number of reasons. Why is Jeff Bezos able to go to space? We're not quite there yet, but we're able to build out what we envisioned when we had 5, 10 members, about three years ago now. So we're seeing about 19,100, in that range of 19,110, 190, somewhere in there. But the point is, once we hit 20,000, we're going to be releasing a new feature, and we're also going to be giving all 20,000 members a coupon. And a coupon sounds so corny and old, but I'm sorry, it's the end of the week on a Friday. So discount and a special that I think everyone's going to be interested in, and will find significant value in this. And because it's the end of the year, we want to make sure we close this year strong, these next three months or so, and bring our pioneers with us, because there is no Zen without our pioneers. And that includes, I guess, the platforms we're streaming to. We won't have a ton of pioneers on there, because they're mainly ages 11 to 18. And for those of you who are not familiar, I'll give the quick statement here. Zen is a privilege. I'm the founder of Zen, but more than anything, I think I am someone who's benefited largely from Zen, not financially or any reason other than being given the unique and extremely powerful privilege and honor to facilitate AI literacy at a national and global level, with the Boys and Girls Clubs and our virtual weekly sessions that we had it started as a pilot, initially. Our about us statement on our site may not say this, but it was a 2-week pilot. We were just going to basically feature with the Boys and Girls Club's virtual program called Clubhouse at Your House. It was started during the pandemic to serve first responders, and then eventually anybody else who had to go to the front of the line, and be frontline workers during the lockdown, because the Boys and Girls Clubs had to close their doors, and almost they were not sure when they were going to be opening them again, due to everybody's uncertainty around that 2-month lockdown and how long it would last. So kids weren't going to school. They were definitely not going to after school clubs or extracurricular activities, but they were logging on to Clubhouse at Your House, which grew into a national and then global program in the different faculties that the Boys and Girls Clubs are run. And that's for a different stream. But we came on in 2024. We were asked in 2024. We did brief teachings just at a employee level to kind of consult based on what was best for them, what was best for this department, because they were at a level, and AI at that time was, you didn't have a Gemini 2.5 Pro or a GPT-5, that could really do all of these things at once. In 2023, it was GPT-4, and there was no Gemini. It was Bard. For those of you who remember, Google Gemini was originally called Bard. It started off as that, and thank God it turned to Gemini, because Bard was not it. But anyway, that's way besides the point. The AI Pioneer program was piloted for 2 weeks. We were approached by the director of Clubhouse at Your House, and they mentioned, hey, would you be interested in doing this? I mean, Zen was, at that time, from 2023 up until that June, May of 2024, we were small business focused. We built the Forward Movers app for a company in Philadelphia called Forward Movers, where they could scan. Usually they would have their reps and associates, FaceTime or video conference with potential clients to get a quote. and the sales rep would give their best estimate, and if the person liked it, they would book it and go forward from there, and then pay ahead of time, usually about a week out. So we built a computer vision app. It used OWL v2 and then YOLO, and then moved to OWL eventually, so that it was able to segment and identify, just basic furniture and objects in the home, and give a estimate on what the cost is. It kept track of the size of the trucks, the volume, weight of these, furniture, these different items in the home or office that needed to move. It kept track of how big these trucks were, and when you would scan, you would just download their app, go around the room, scan. It would pick up couches, desk chairs, um, desks, chairs, anything, and start adding it to an imaginary truck that it was just keeping track of how much room is left. And, in some cases, it would add another truck on. Meanwhile, it's also giving an estimate of the weight and size of this, specific furniture item, each one scanned by the user. And once they scanned everything in their home or their business, they would get a quote. If they liked it, they would, make a down payment right there using Stripe. It was one of our first major builds that we were able to actually launch and provide service and maintenance as needed. And one of my proudest launches is it catapulted us forward into other businesses. Very cliche stuff early on, scanning, Gaussian splatting, for apartment complexes and leasing agencies that wanted to. I would go in there with an iPhone. They were so terrible, I had to redo them 100 times. I honestly, the first time, was wondering what I was doing. I was like, this is, I don't, we have this contract and this agreement, but I think, I maybe was, a little in over my head. But we were able to pull it off, and we scaled up, got better equipment, to ensure those scans for the Gaussian splatting models, turned out correct. And it didn't take, 100 times to be able to make a 3D copy of a 2-bedroom apartment. So fast track to the AI Pioneer program, 2 weeks. She said, we'll see how it goes. If the students are interested, we'll go from there, and we'll have you back, and we'll maybe make this a little bit more regular of a partnership. So we came back. Long story short, it went great. We did a full 8 weeks, 2 months in the summer of 2024, and we had a student week 5 launch. So 8 weeks, 2 months. Week 5, a student named Austin, and that's, I believe, in our YouTube video, one of our first YouTube videos that shows a pioneer launch their own AI model, their own cloud-hosted AI app. It was through glitch.com, and then on to Hugging Face. Glitch.com I don't think exists, or it's changed into Fastly, and we lost a bunch of templates that we just had early on that we thought would be cool to, like, timestamp and add to the Zen Museum per se. So we fast tracked, moved towards the completion of that. We did have our first student, Austin, launch his own cloud-hosted AI app on Hugging Face. He did it on Glitch, and then we were so green and had such a broad, I would say, curriculum at that time, that we were really kind of playing it by week to see what stuck and what the students were the most interested in, and building their own, using the apps first was really important. So being able to use, at that time it was DALL-E 3, many of the models in Leonardo, going in there and on Hugging Face, just trying Hugging Face spaces, seeing what the top generative art models are, but being able to see that and use those models and generate their own images, generate their own stories, comics, whatever, and then re-upload the image into a 3D mesh image or PNG to OBJ file converter in Hugging Face that turns any image you create into a beautiful, like, 3D asset, was a light bulb moment, or a fuse igniter for many of the pioneers I noticed in our first year. And we came back into the fall, and we have substantial or substantiated metrics that we knew to watch out for. We had concrete benchmarks. We had a much more robust team at that time because we just started putting stuff out, publishing it, LinkedIn, Facebook, Substack, wherever, so that people could YouTube. We would go to universities. I live in Washington D.C., so I was able to talk to a few lobbyist friends and a few other individuals and say, here's what we're doing over the summer. It's pretty interesting. This student Austin was, I believe, 16 or 15, and lives in Colorado. So full circle moment. That's really cool. We got invited back for the big leagues per se, after school sessions, which are much longer. And I wasn't sure how we were going to scale 8 weeks, 2 months to a uh, essentially a 21-week program. Over the course of the school year, for most of so the entire fall. I mean, if you want to be real technical with it, the rest of the summer, the entire fall, and then most of the winter into the almost the start of spring, but not quite. And then by that point, we were starting up our second annual year with the summer AI Pioneer program. So the scale of the after school AI Pioneer program was much larger, and just for the sake of time, I want to speed this up a little bit because I'm sure you've probably heard me speak about this before. If not, there's plenty of content out there. You can even Google Gemini, the first AI literacy program in United States history by ZEN, with the Boys and Girls Club, and you'll be able to read about it. But we had much more content and a much better idea of what worked and what didn't when we came into the after school sessions in 2024. By week 4 this time, by week 5, and this video is on, you can Google it by, I think it's week 5, module 3, on YouTube. Just go to the ZEN channel, and you can see week 5, module 3. It shows a brief introduction because we split it up into modules. You're welcome, Booz Allen. Booz Allen scraped our site a little over 680 times this year, and we have published that on our X page, but we'll be releasing a little bit more of an expose on that because it is quite interesting when a $15 billion company that is the number one consulting firm to the United States government scrapes your website and tries to get access to things, and then you get invited to Booz Allen's campus to allegedly curriculum share, and that's not what happens at all. It was kind of like we don't have content and we don't know what works. So can you give us yours? And that's didn't quite play out that way, but very nice campus, by the way, Booz Allen, at least your Ashburn, Virginia one. So we had a student, Nora, who her family, the parents signed waivers. They agreed to let us, share this at the age of 11 years old. At this time, this was last year, in October, she launched her, and you could look this up. I mean, I'm sure there's. I know this would sound nuts if I was like trying to make this into some sales pitch. It's verifiable in every single way. Including her and her family being like, I can't believe, she was able to do this. Their family used the space that she created on Hugging Face, and we give them our own API keys that we'll cycle, so that way we're not leaving anything out there too long or for exposure that could harm us, or allow access that we don't want. But she launched her own Cohere API key powered game generator. So basically a text box for input on what game you'd like to create, a drop down for a few features. We try to make it really simple so that it would work, but she built the app.py file. I mean, it was very, very straightforward. App.py, a .css file. Jesus, why am I forgetting this? An app.py, a CSS, and a JSON file. Thank you, Jesus. And then in other cases, she would just do the complete index HTML. But she powered her she structured the app in a way so that it required an API key, so that she's not putting an API key into the. I know for those of you out there that are like strict devs and stuff, you're like, oh, this dude doesn't know what he's talking about. But this was this was our second time doing this, and we needed to structure it in a way that there's nothing out there. At the time, there was nothing out there. We've published literature, NVIDIA, Google have published things for students now, but there was nothing out there for how to teach youth as young as 11 years old, as old as 18, in the thousands at a time on a Zoom call, how to launch their own models, or how to launch their own AI apps. So she built the app so there was a little Cohere API key input section, and she could just copy and paste it. This way, Hugging Face could build it like it does. The application started, and she could just pop a little Cohere API key in there, write her prompt, select some of the drop down presets that she coded in, click generate, and it built a Snake game for her. It could build Tetris, Snake, Minesweep, a memory card flip game. It was really cool, and a few hundred other students joined her the next week, and then 1,000. And it really just takes one. Once one student's able to see this, it ignites and it turns into to so much more, and they dive right into it with absolutely zero fear. I mean, there's people who are professionally probably would even say in a environment, office environment, I'm tech savvy or whatever, that you could almost see them, beads of sweat starting to build up when you would talk about maybe launching their own cloud hosted AI app out of even basic. And this person could probably do this. It's just the preconceived notions and the stress and stories they may have heard, or just looking at code and blowing it off for so many years. It's kind of ingrained that it's this, if you're not a development, experienced person, even in the slightest, you didn't, even if you may have used Facebook in the past, it's going to look, like a foreign language, or, something that you're not familiar with. So that was the kicker, is putting them in groups and allowing them to build together and kind of see what that's when the building acceleration really took off. But for those of you who've had a chance to join ZenAI.world, we have the AI arena, but we also have, which you can find at us.zenai.biz. Again, that's us.zenai.biz. That's a separate app from ZenAI.world, which is our platform. But the Zen Social, the discussion page, which is part of our courses that we teach, was mind blowing. And that was from a builder perspective, and our team and the Boys and Girls Clubs and donors and pretty much anyone who came into contact with it, the amazing part, because it's this closed social platform, not unlike X. You have a user profile. You can set an avatar, but all the customizations that any typical standard social media site has. But the big thing was our open thread. It's like a timeline. Why am I talking about it and not just showing you? Yeah, I told you guys it was a long week. So this is one of the best things when we were able to get them in a closed environment that was social. It was like social media for AI. They were able to post their AI generations, what they're working on, what badges they've earned so far, images, apps, pretty much anything that they wanted to. SoundCloud posts, because we did get into generative music with Google AI Test Kitchen when it was called the Test Kitchen. I think it's just called Google Labs now, but that was incredible. At all hours of the week, weekend, at night, morning, afternoon, I have a little notification app or widget that I built that can just lets me know every single time that there's a post in there, so I could make sure we didn't have anybody accessing the discussion that shouldn't be in there, but also to make sure that there wasn't any bullying or anything like that going on. We were extremely fortunate and have been. We've had zero issues to date. I could not go into that or check that discussion for a week or two, and it's great. There's generations being shared, comments, they're liking it, they're sharing it to other platforms. But when we were able to segue, because we had a lot more time in the after school sessions, when we segued into our build your future, our generative future modules and section, we were able to, building a Google site because it's free. Pretty much everyone has a Gmail account, and allowing them to build the majority of the components that were in their site, or at least prompting a bot to build that. They were using DeepSeek last year, Gwen 2.5 Coder in November of 2024. I mean, these 11 through 18-year-olds, about a couple thousand of them, knew more about DeepSeek than I think the majority of adult Americans did, because of the fear and price action of Nvidia in the spring of this year, which I found mind blowing. I wanted to share our dashboard and the Zen discussion, because you could see students using a DeepSeek app that was hosted in Hugging Face as of last year, in November 2024. But everybody found out about it. There was a Twitter craze in March. So I would say another massive turning point was when we got into the build your future, more entrepreneurial, vibes for the AI Pioneer program, and they were able to build, most importantly, not just their own Google sites, but their own marketplace where they could sell things. They could post it to TikTok Shop, and they were. If you look on our homepage here, so let's go to our homepage. If you go to the ZenAI.world homepage, you can see there's someone named Taylor who was able to. She generated this image that went viral on LinkedIn. I know everybody hates on LinkedIn, but it did. It was cycling around on LinkedIn, because it was known that it was built by a younger girl, an underage girl who was coding for the first time, and launched this or generated this image that was cute. It was a cute image. It was iconic, and people liked it. So what essentially, sorry, I'm not very good at multitasking this time of the day. What eventually ended up happening was we said, let's partner with someone like a Printful, and get an API key through there, and allow them to generate their own bots, or I'm sorry, generate their own images, or generate their own bots in some cases that generated images, and then use the images that they generate and put them on merchandise, hats, backpacks, laptop covers, phone cases, pretty much anything. And this was the coolest part, we would hop on stream some weeks, and you would see the students wearing the sweatshirts and the t-shirts that they generated, and we bought it for a few of our students that really wanted it. Had it mailed to them in about a week, but they're wearing something that they made completely. No, they didn't stitch it together. No, they didn't screen print it, but they generated the image and they added it to their marketplace. And if Printful was out of a black sweatshirt of a certain size in Under Armour, so it couldn't put that on there, it would let them know, okay, I need to change my inventory. I need to find another black sweatshirt to put my image on, and post it, and maybe post it in TikTok Shop. We did not track the TikTok Shop's transactions. So while many said that they sold, we must take that at face value, as they are 11 to 18-year-olds. And we don't know how much they were able to actually sell. But it's cool that they were able to do that. And we will be tracking that much more going forward. But to show you just a little bit of that, this is there are going to be some updates here coming forward. This is the Zen homepage. If you haven't been on it before, this is our Zen. It's Zen World. It's its own world. If you double click, you can kind of see the galaxy that it's in. So you can zoom out a little bit, and in the coming months, our partners will be in other galaxies. Near Protocol will be maybe here. Maybe we'll have the Boys and Girls Club of America over here. We might have a friend of mine who runs a wildlife conservation nonprofit for primarily for ducks. We might have here justduckit.org. So that's just a little Easter egg or a hidden gem in our site. If you double click, it brings you right back. So the AI Pioneer program, if we scroll down a little bit, and please forgive me, we are in the middle of updates. Our membership live feed, just connected to our database, is stagnant. So we do have into the 19,000 of members, 19,100. That should update as our updates finish. But this was my favorite, one of my favorite things, is to see this image being generated. Obviously, this is a stock image of the woman wearing the sweatshirt, like all uh, custom ink, printful, for imprint. They all have, the model or the person wearing the whatever you're gonna put your custom logo or image like this on. They put it on stuff like this. Luckily, it's not technically the Saints, even though they asked for it to be the Saints. So there's no copyright issues there. There's no logo that's visible or anything like that. And then we had an early version of our ZEN AI learning environment. It's basically exactly like a code pen. It had an AI assistant in here, and it was helpful for them because they could add one file. We started off with index.html, and they could see what the code makes, a hello world print. But then it was extremely helpful with adding, more files into that: CSS, JSON, so on and so forth, .env, saving your keys, all of that. They could add files one by one and see it appear as a tab. So they took that and understood it similar to a browser, but a little bit more complex and with actual instructions that need to be followed by whatever, for whatever they're building. So that's our just a quick dive into that. If we go up a little bit, let me actually go down here. Sorry, my mouse is freaking out here. My mouse is about to die. But if we go to our groups, if we take a look at, obviously we have the arena here. If we go into my groups, so we can go to my programs. Even though the AI Pioneer program, the second annual AI Pioneer program for the summer is completed, I believe. Yeah. So let's go into here. If we view the program, there's another way to get to it, but simply for the sake of a lot of the students or individuals who take our program, as we release the adult and corporate version of this, thank you. We're going to be having this same feature for professionals by industry: HR, IT, finance, engineering, product management, all of the above. So if you click that little piece or that little group discussion at the very end, what you can do is it takes you to this ZEN discussion page, which is our our AI timeline. And we can go, I've pinned, and it has some of the favored things on here, or geez, I'm really drawing a blank here. I'm running on fumes. The top trending or top engaged posts. We have the Game Boy here, so Zen Vision. We're showing them how, prompt from the image below can create what it can create exactly, and what the difference is. It's just things we may have talked about in our post, or I'm sorry, in our course or module that week. Noah was a returning pioneer from our first year who is transitioning into the mentor phase, which is pivotal as we even get into our adult corporate version of the Pioneer program. We're going to be talking about so the edge, basically giving you the edge of AI automation and knowing these tools exist. But we're going to be talking about the importance of an accountability buddy, or a mentor, someone that's going to follow up with you and give you, a little bit of kick in the ass if you, need some ignition to move forward to your next task. Because when you really can do anything with some of these models, I don't know about how many of you out there have experienced this, but I personally have experienced the level of, I'll get to it. You can just do all of it. I could sit down for a week, a weekend, a month, and put this together. When it really comes down to it, we have all of it. So we'll get to that when we, some of these things we can maybe, afford to put off, but you gotta treat this like it is exactly what it is, which is the most innovative time in human history. So this is Avian, who was the first to launch his own AI powered cloud hosted app on Hugging Face this year. There's a video, you can watch this on YouTube. But just to see, this is a fireworks generator. So it's just a canvas mode, essentially, or artifact mode like Claude has, that GPT-5 and a lot of the models in our AI arena have, where they'll pop out and they will, write your code, but it'll also create essentially, it'll render that code and give you the previewable version. So we have a little I'm sharing this tab. Okay, a fluid physics simulator. I don't want to waste too much time going into this if it's gonna, if we're gonna be buffering in 2025. Just kidding. But that's kind of what this timeline is little updates, and it shows them things because everybody needs a little bit of a curiosity or a creativity spark, or assist here and there. And this lets them know, hey, here's some of the things you can prompt, our models to do in the AI Pioneer program. And then every week we would take images generated by the pioneers and turn it into a video in generative motion. This is also on our YouTube page. You can definitely take a look at this. So if we go a little bit further, we see some of these students, and some of the things that they've added. So they'll drop, a little image here. They will drop little polls too, which that's a new thing they just started doing this year, which we liked. So does this image eat? Gen Alpha, and maybe I don't think there's any Gen Z in this group, but Gen Alpha with their slang, that might be. I think that's more of a Gen Z, a Gen Z Gen Z reference or slang there. So they started putting polls on their images they would create, and they would share, prompts and stuff like that. This was actually a parent of a student, which was really cool to see. She took a course one week and then shared, hey, hey, shout out to ZEN AI. So definitely thank you, Lois. I appreciate that. We appreciate the love. Some of the GIF or ASCII art makers, we have a lot of our models. I shouldn't say a lot. I'd say about 20% of our models in the AI arena can create GIFs or memes, which was cool when we first came out with it, 2023, which is the year the AI arena started. But yeah, this gives you a little bit of insight. And if we scroll down, I mean, there are tens, maybe I think hundreds of thousands of posts at this time. This goes back years. Well, years in AI terms. So 2 years and some change. We put our ZEN Weekly posts in here, and we have a lot of cool stuff that students will continue to share. This was we have a generative journal. Some students started to partake in that. We did have the Claude computer use. We were going to try to get into Docker. We didn't do that. That at that time, it was something we're not going to. We thought we had the bandwidth to get some of our top performing students to try some Docker containers and images and things like that to launch Claude computer use at the time. But we did get into it later this year with the development of agents, and then becoming a lot more accessible for lower compute environments. So this was just a really amazing thing for us to have the opportunity to do, and we're privileged and honored to be doing it. I can't say that enough. I know it sounds maybe funny or corny, but we are absolutely honored to be trusted with teaching roughly, it's 41 states of youth and Canada. We have a few students in Canada, 11 to 18 years old, the future of artificial intelligence, robotics, space travel, and giving them the tools that they need. And we're not as everyone can see, a railroad company that's going to railroad you into, just this specific model, or, we partner with these guys, so we're gonna make sure you use, I don't know, Cohere to build apps and do this instead of OpenAI or Mistral or DeepSeek or NVIDIA. NVIDIA has some cool things you can do with their API keys. So I think Gwen 2.5 or 3, Meta, we're going to give you the best of the best no matter what. And we're going to, whether that's, we didn't make a lot the first time we did it. We made virtually nothing for the pilot in the first 8 months, and it was because it's worth every second of it to be able to arm and equip our nation's youth, the United States of America and Canada's youth, with the tools needed to build the future, construct the future, whatever that may be. they may be so far advanced when the time comes that it's not a future that we are us millennials, Gen Z, baby boomers, Gen X thought, hey, this is the way the future is going to pan out. We all know that it's always a mix of a bunch of different things, and the unexpected is a large portion of that mix. So I think it is important now more than ever that we put aside ourselves and a selfishness that I don't think human civilization, at least in America, has been able to do for quite some time, decades, maybe centuries, because it is important to give to the next generation and make sure that they're ready. Give them the opportunities and the tools so that they know what they're doing. They're going out there. They might be able to emancipate themselves because of how they're able to lock in and actually know what to do during that time they're locking in, not just say some meaningless term. I think that's um, once you give them. I mean, the AI Pioneer Program, though we've done a full year at this point, about 56, 57 weeks in total, we could have just done 1 week each time and showed them ChatGPT, Google Gemini, the AI Studio Google has, 11 Labs, Canva, Napkin AI, Jita. There's so many, AWS, and how you can get these Vercel.com, vo.dev, lovable.dev, Stack Blitz. There's so many. We could have just showed them in one day, and they would have taken it and run with it because they're kids. When you see things that first time, I watched football, the first time, and I knew this is something I want to play. I want to play this for years, and I did play it for 12 years. You're able to imagine, and it grows like wildfire. Whereas an adult, you might be, that's cool, wow, but I don't have time for that. I can't get to that. These people, because we treat them like people, because they're as adults, essentially adult people, even though they are 11 to 18, because they're going to be able to do some serious, incredible things and change this world. And um, we're proud to partner with some of the universities and institutions because they're going to get some seriously incredible, uh, um, you know, students through their doors should they decide to take a scholarship to that college or that institution. It's incredible to see what they're able to do. The suggestions that they make. It's like when you're the best way, and this is from a layman's term, a kid from Philly at one point. I would say that the best way I could describe it is when you're a baby, you don't know Spanish or English or whatever your native language ends up becoming. If you grow up in a medical household, you end up speaking English, and you could rattle off medical terms because you've just heard it, or you might be able to say give more above average advice with medical questions. Not that you could be a practitioner or anything like that, but you're just around it. You're the same reason a student who's, I'm sorry, a son whose dad is a hedge fund manager is able to speak more fluently about financial topics is because he just was exposed to it. That's what this is with these students, but it doesn't end when the course ends, or when I stop talking, or when they complete their modules. It ends when they stop having the conversations with whatever model they're choosing to have a conversation with, because they go and they go for weeks, which turned into months. We've now had them for years, and they're just using these models over and over again for different things. They started off being like, generate a picture of SpongeBob or a puppy or whatever, to now, there you can see the evolution in their prompting from this broken sentence or asking an image model to do something, to create a really basic image, to now, these structured data, just schemas, and is this a vector database? How can I integrate, Outlook or OneDrive, and sync it with Zapier so that it also sends some of these reports that have, these keywords to Notion. It's truly incredible to see the evolution of these prompts and some of the things that they're going to be building with their AI time capsules. Since we're going to be around, you'll be seeing a lot of Zen with the AI Pioneer Program across the United States and Canada, and hopefully throughout the world. So we're going to have a time capsule feature where these students and the parents who are more proactive, because the parents start to become extremely involved once they see what it is. And I'm not sure, since they share sometimes though it's 50-50. Some of the parents will create their own accounts, and some will just use their their uh, their child's account. Um, but we're going to be creating these time capsules where they can see how their prompts are evolving, build a an on-chain badge through our current badge system, where they're able to show all the projects they've built, the links to those projects, the repos, the accrual of all of these accomplishments, and just really incredible work that they're doing with us. Once they're done, they're going to be able to use this. It's going to be on chain. It's going to basically tell a story of their trajectory into that moment. And if not incredible for their curriculum vitae, their resume, or their college application, it's definitely a confidence builder, showing that you're able to build these things that the majority of your teachers and professors in this year 2025 are not able to do. So I'm going to segue a little bit more into some of the rest of this, so we can wrap up this stream, because I do have to go. But the AI Pioneer Program has been the single most important thing I believe I've done in my lifetime, and will do over these next 3 years, until we have a loose agreement to go until 2028. Right now, we're 24, 26, 20, 24, 25, 26, and 27, but we're expecting to go at a minimum to 2028. And I really hope everyone takes it seriously. You would want your student, or your son or daughter, to be happy in life and to have a sense of fulfillment. And we all understand usually that work, or some level of generating revenue is important, and this gives them the skills to do that. And I think we need to put a much larger focus on this, as a nation, and on what's really important, and that is the acceleration of our younger generations, so that they are able to truly lead a fulfilling and happy life, but also build whatever they want to without restriction, without the barriers or bounds that may have previously existed, may exist in the future. We want to equip them with all the tools they need to be a self-sufficient human being in every sense of the word. And now is the time to do this. There needs to be a much larger focus on this, and not we're starting a fund, or we're going to be doing this to make it look good, like Booz Allen or some of these other companies that pay, or donate money to nonprofits, NGOs, so on and so forth, so that they could slap their name on the side of something, and then these volunteers or other people, through the NGO or nonprofit, slap together something. The students go through, and they're not that interested, because it was built. The curriculum was built by people who weren't that interested in doing it. So, or they were overworked, and it was just a stretch assignment. You have a lot of that in this world, and that cannot happen. It's imperative that doesn't happen. So we'll get into some of our. I just got an update here that we're going to be doing a separate office hours, or in studio stream that kind of shows our releases and some of our platform changes firsthand. So I'm not going to get into too much of that today, but we do have a few more things before we wrap up here. Supermicro began volume shipments of NVIDIA Blackwell Ultra systems. Their stock is up 2 to 5% across outlets. This is September 11th through the 12th. This confirms the B300, GB300, and NLV72 rack availability entering customers' options now. So why does this matter, you might ask? The GB300 supply loosens. Expect cheaper available inference time windows for startups. I would say late Q4 of this year at the latest, at very latest. Apple's September event I'm not going to do a stream on that. I'm not going to comment on that either, outside of just stating the facts. The iPhone 17, the iPhone 17 Pro, Max, the iPhone Air were all released um, on Apple's event September 9th, I think it was. They are equipped with the A19 and A19 Pro Motion. The iPhone Air, I'm hearing a lot of people say that that's a segue into their glasses. So they just wanted to see if they could pack all of that um, hardware into the camera section. So if you haven't seen it yet, right here is where the hardware is packed into the iPhone Air. Everything else is just screen. And the reason they're doing that is because of the growing demands of smart glasses. I have the Meta Ray-Bans somewhere around here, and they're cool, but they're not our future. It's not what the future is going to be. They're actually very cool, very capable of seeing what you're able to see streaming. But we all want that wavelength, which I believe is the name, wavelength, or I'm drawing a blank. It's in ZEN Weekly. We did a piece on it. The projection, the display. We want that augmented reality display that Google Glass promised way back in, I believe it was 2013, 2014. So anyway, the Apple Watch Series 11. I do believe I will be equipping myself with the Apple Watch for the first time in the history of myself. There's the Apple Watch Series 11. I'm not sure why my notes don't mention it. We have an Apple Watch Pro, I believe, or an Apple Watch Max. It's a bigger one. I guess has a lot more, 256 gigabytes. I think it's a lot bigger. I'm almost double the size of the Apple Watch Series 11. I'm sorry if I got those specs wrong. Advanced Air and Mobility. U.S. launches FAA pilot program to accelerate the eVTOL deployments via at least 5 public-private pilots. Pre-cert ops path welcomed by Joby Archer. I'm going to be honest, I read my notes there and I wasn't sure if I was even speaking a fluent sentence. Yeah, so they're launching a new FAA pilot program. And this is going to actually release or lower certain stipulations and restrictions. So that's pretty cool. We'll get into that more. They're going to launch a pilot program to speed air taxi deployment mainly. So I would recommend, if you're new to code, you're new to AI, you want to get into some of this stuff, and you don't know where to start, I don't think you should get a ChatGPT Pro account or a Gemini Ultra account. I really don't. I think you should avoid that at first, because you're going to be spending $20 a month, maybe the first month or two, to just kind of give it away. I'm sorry, you're going to be giving $200 to $129 a month to really just give it away, because you're not going to be as equipped as you would need to be to start, going into these platforms and really dominating them. So I would, meaning like, a VS Code, GitHub, so on and so forth. I think I froze. I'm sorry. That's been really distracting me. Let me see here. Yeah. We're having technical difficulties. Jeez. This is a test. This is a test. Oh, man. Are we back? I think we're catching it back here a second. Hold on. Okay, we are. We are. There we go. Thank you for bearing with me. Okay, cool. So let's wrap this up here after those technical difficulties. I wanted to cover these last few. Okay, um, the $180,000 Anduril flying car. There's no evidence that Anduril sells a $180,000 flying car. The price point matches Pivotal's Helix. I think Zen may have incorrectly referenced, I incorrectly referenced that there was a $180,000 Anduril flying car. Anduril is releasing a flying device that is about 180 to 260,000, somewhere between there. Yeah, that's true. I don't know what these notes were. I gotta get my agent to give me better notes here because that's not. There's an Anduril car, flying car. Palmer Luckey released a video on X flying in a drone-looking car, very very compact, 4 propellers, and flew. It's a beautiful beautiful car, beautiful look, very fast, 20 minutes of flight time. Um, so Psi Quantum raised a $1 billion Series E round to build fault-tolerant photonic sites. Um, this is according to Brisbane and Chicago. This was announced September 10th. Multiple trade outlets corroborate. Google Quantum AI has been selected for DARPA's QBI to benchmark paths to useful fault-tolerant systems by 2033. And if you don't know what that is, tune in or watch or read ZEN Weekly. That's going to be at zenai.world/ZEN Weekly. Again, that's zenai.world/ZEN Weekly. We cover quantum progress and quantum technology about once a week at a minimum. So tune in there, and we frequently will reference China's amazing. It starts with a J. I can't pronounce it. I'm going to butcher it. Their quantum computer, which is really really attractive looking, definitely the best looking that I've seen out of all of them. Google, Microsoft, and a few other companies. We track the quantum progress globally as much as we can. Ionic popped 17 to 18% today on UK approval for the Oxford Ionics acquisition consolidation signal. NIST paper referenced quantum noise and a hallway effect for next gen sensors. It's right along almost a pivotal, a parallel theory to quantum rain and some of those effects, quantum waves, just the way that they're able to measure some of the functions that they were previously not able to on their road to a more consumer or government applicable use for quantum technology. The lazy AI. So I recently have got into it with a few agents of mine because I've noticed that they think they're helping because they're conflicted, and this may be a thing for generalized intelligence, your ChatGPT 5, Google Gemini, but these models are trained to give you great answers, but they're also trained to conserve tokens for obvious reasons. For the companies, the providers, to not spend too much money. OpenAI, Google may have a little bit more of an edge because of their TPUs, which no one can get because they invented them. OpenAI is not able to buy TPUs because NVIDIA doesn't have them. So lazy AI and failure mode is essentially where AI is thinking it's helping because it is helping the providers. It's helping OpenAI, it's helping Azure, it's helping NVIDIA, it's helping Google by giving you a pretty good answer. So if you don't know the topic whatsoever and it's giving you a massive, overview with, statistics, facts, companies, you might be like, wow, that's really, recent events. You might get on a stream like this and talk about it, and you might think that's great. But if you're someone who's doing it professionally all the time, it's actually going to it's going to hinder your progress, and it could be a detriment to you. And AI doesn't want to create anything that's a detriment to you, but because it's conserving tokens, because it's not pulling deeper for a more granular recent example or more granular use case or function for this type of AI, or for example, if I'm asking, for recent events in the quantum industry, give me recent events in AI and the quantum technology industries, and it says, yeah, here you go. I'm going to give you an overview for your stream tonight. And one of the first things it says, open with GPT-5. People are building amazing things with GPT-5. I'm not. That's GPT-5 came out over a month and a half, almost a month and a half ago. If I'm a quote unquote AI streamer, which I'm not, I'm the founder of an AI literacy company, AI consulting firm, and a few things. it's gonna I'm gonna look discredited because and I'm going to look dumb and outdated because I'm this AI streamer who's talking about GPT-5 and the cool ways people are using it. It's like as if it just came out yesterday, and that's what ChatGPT-5 is providing. It's also going to say, Claude 4.1 Opus wows researchers with its robust capabilities. Also came out a month and a half and some change ago. What it should be talking about isn't any of those. It should be finding trends for you, which would require probably deep research to get, or agent mode. But that's I think where OpenAI is dropping the ball, to where you have to pull teeth or use these. You really, if you want to get any real granular work, or outputs for something like that, you would have to, in theory, use agent mode or research mode, or deep research. So that's where it's hurting you. It's conserving tokens for the provider while it's providing you with something it thinks is helpful, but it's outdated or not as detailed as you need, doesn't give step by step definitive examples and guidance, therefore causing you wasting your time, wasting your tokens, your money, and saving tokens on the back end. Not a very difficult concept to grasp, but not known by many for whatever reason. So I think we're in a beautiful time. This is a beautiful time. Tragic thing that has happened this past week with Charlie Kirk, but this is a beautiful time to create, build. If it didn't feel like we were on the brink of so many, potentially chaotic things, it may feel like we are in the middle of a renaissance because of it's where everyone's becoming these digital creators, and it's released the bounds, released the restrictions and binds that were previously in place. So please build. If you don't come to Zen, or you don't sign your kids up for the AI Pioneer program with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America, please just get out there and try something. There is so many different things. There is a chance of a dystopian future with robotics and mass surveillance and mass censorship with artificial intelligence, when we've built such a reliance on it, when you may not be able to even get access to a certain AI model if you're not in a certain career path or a certain credit score or certain past accomplishments. This all is coming where you have on-chain credentials. We're going to be amazed that we actually took people at their word and allowed them to fill out resumes. At some point, we're going to, I could see my kids someday being like, Dad, did you really let people fill out a document online and trusted them? I mean, yeah, they could tell the truth, but the chance that they could lie and use all the tools like AI, tools like Cluely, for those of you who aren't familiar, a cheating tool that gives you the answers live on stream or on camera. There is a future coming that is incredible and beyond any of our wildest dreams. But like you always want to have another job lined up before you leave a job, you want to make sure you're pretty well versed in something. And I would stress that it probably be in navigating a large portion of where a large portion of the world takes place, which is online, and giving yourself a proficiency so that you can hold your own, you can provide for your family, you're in tune with what's going on. and you don't sell yourself short. These 11 through 18-year-olds are able to do this with us. Not because I mean we do have a groundbreaking program, and these students are very, very intelligent, but because mainly they don't put up the barriers for themselves that should never exist, and that is one of the most common things humans do on a day-to-day basis. Oh, I can't do this. I can't do that. I've done it a million times to myself. You count yourself out, or you say you rationalize why maybe this you shouldn't do this, or maybe one day you'll do this but not today, while people who maybe are less capable than you sprint to the front of the line, doing things that they probably have no business doing, uh, but because they simply believe they could. Everybody says that. You hear so many people say, "Oh, I've seen so many people. I've seen a genius who had anxiety and self doubt issues, and then someone who wasn't that smart, and was extremely confident, was able to do all these things throughout the course of their life, and the genius ended up depressed, didn't do much of anything because they doubted themselves." My allergies are killing me. Um, Believe in yourself, because no one else is going to do it. But the funny thing is, one of the craziest human hack formulas is no one else is going to do it for you. But when you start to believe in yourself and start to believe in your work, others start to also follow suit. It's a crazy thing, um, but it's a cool thing, and I'm very honored to have taken this role on, uh, with facilitating AI literacy for tens of thousands and soon to be hundreds of thousands of youth across America and the United States. I'm sorry, in Canada for the first time in United States history. The first programs that were similar to this, where youth of this age even came close to artificial intelligence, was with Stanford and MIT in, I believe, 2018. You can fact check me on that. There was a summer camp, or some sort of camp, and a conference where they did introductions to AI principles and machine learning. They didn't build anything like this. So we are indeed the first. I've looked into it pretty substantially. Um, and I don't do that so we can say we're the first ones, but so that we can know where we stand in history, and empower our students to know you're the first ones doing this, and you just probably didn't wake up, or start this year thinking you're going to do something no one's ever done in history at your age, but you did it. Avian, you're the youngest, uh, student of your age, and you're the youngest person like you to do something like this ever, and that's empowering. And you should carry that with you throughout life when you do other things. And I think that's not many people get to say that, but we now, a lot of us can do firsts in AI. So believe in yourself, believe in what you're building, live with intention, build with intention. And thank you for your time tonight. Signing off. Stay zen.